Hey guys, how's it going today? My name is Jillian. Welcome to the Quench Life podcast. Today with me is Justin. He is with State of Fitness located out of Michigan. Hi Justin, how are you? Thank you for coming on the show today.
Hey, thanks so much, Jillian. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
So today we're going to be chatting about why women are so hesitant to strength train and lift weights. Justin is a fantastic trainer, a guru on all of these things. So Justin, what is, over the time that you've spent with women, your experience with the weights? What are women's hesitations?
You know, luckily it's gotten a little bit better over the years. You know, I started 20 years ago, training. I had almost all women clients. I think my first 2 years as a trainer, it was, just women that were training, with me at least. And the question came up every time, especially because I was training in like a bodybuilding type gym, and everybody working out, for the majority were just trying to get big, right? And you just had to have that same discussion over and over again, whether it stuck with that person or not. But it just makes sense to when you think of weight training and talk to an inexperienced person, in particular, we're talking about women, is their first thought is, I'm gonna get bigger. I'm gonna lift weights. I'm gonna, get exactly like that person over there, mostly male, get big. And so you don't understand, the hormonal output of their body, the nutrition aspect. And so I really try to zero in on, those types of things that science shows that, it's just not that easy to gain muscle.
Sure. So why don't you walk through some of the components of what makes it different? You and I training, what are the differences that are going to be happening for us nutritionally, output wise, strength wise, just so kind of tidbits that make it so not able to happen.
Yeah. First is, the hormones, right? Testosterone, males and females both need an adequate amount of testosterone. When you're looking at, gentlemen, you want to be, above 500 when you're getting tested by your doctor with the blood work, and women, above 25, and that's a big difference. And that's one of the main drivers, these sex hormones, to build muscle tissue, and the main driver why guys, are bigger than women in a muscular sense. That's why we play football, and we don't really, have a lot of women playing football, because it's just how we are born genetically. So it's not really, you don't have an ability to do that. What I did like to do with some of my clients that were women is I had the fortunate experience to work at Michigan State University in the strength and conditioning department, and I worked with mostly female athletes. And we have to keep in mind, these are Division I, kind of genetically gifted women, and we're lifting weights, and they had some of the same questions. But you'd have maybe 1 out of 50 girls that you say, wow, she's pretty buff and she's gaining muscle pretty fast. And that's at a level where you have genetically gifted folks that are playing Division I sports that are lifting weights pretty hard. And there's like maybe 1 out of 50 girls that are really gaining a appreciable amount of muscle. So the odds of you gaining muscle just aren't there.
Right. But we still have the opportunity to gain muscle for that toned look that everybody is after. So that we, as women, we still have the opportunity to get that look.
Absolutely. I mean, you're still gaining muscle tissue, right? We're just not looking at it as such a large sense. All these before and after photos, all the images we see on whether it's Facebook, Instagram, magazines, you'll see some of the outliers, right, that are really big and buff. And that's not really the point of working out anyway. You're trying to gain and maintain the muscle tissue that you have. You want to keep the tissue that you have, and not always think about, I need to gain muscle. So, we want to keep it where it's at sometimes and just not lose what we have. So you definitely can gain muscle tissue. It's just not going to be these huge proportions that we like to think of in our head.
Right.
So,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I keep thinking as I'm talking to you, it's like we have all these images of just extremes, right? And it's just, It just doesn't happen. I've been trying to get big since I was 16, and I'm a male that eats well and, good hormones and stuff. And I'm just not getting any bigger. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
We just have some limitations.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's important to, chat about and reflect on how different everybody is, how you're chatting about your Division I people that you used to train, and everybody's body is different. Everybody's body, reacts differently nutritionally, and hormonally, especially for women. As we get older, we start talking about menopause that has so much that comes into play when we start talking about fitness, for sure.
Yeah, I was very fortunate again I worked at a place called the Better Health Store. I started there when I was 20 years old, and there are two women that were my bosses. They're actually good mentors in kind of the nutrition field. They had worked at this health store for 25 plus years. And about 6 months into the job, they said, you're going to go to a conference with us. And I said, well, what's it about? They said, women's health and menopause. And I'm like, well, I'm 20 and I have no idea what menopause is at that time. But it really opened up my eyes to how to talk to women and understand that they're dealing with different issues from a nutritional hormonal aspect, not as much as an exercise aspect. We're all kind of the same, I think, as far as fitness is concerned. But that really opened my eyes and understand how to talk to them and, not worry about getting too bulky. Let's worry about other things such as, are we getting enough essential fatty acids? Are we getting enough minerals? Are we staying hydrated? There's, studies show a lot of women don't get enough protein in the diet. So I really tried to talk to them from that aspect, rather than saying you're going to get big and bulky. Let's just work out a little bit, let's move, and let's focus on the other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I feel like the women, we get an image in our head of what's going to happen, and it's hard. Like what's the goal that you might have in your head about your body? Women are always like, well, when I was in high school, I was 120 pounds, and you're like, okay, well, you've had a few children, or
Right.
but it's 20 years later, that's not going to happen. So it's funny how, as women, we definitely hold on to unrealistic goals for ourselves, and really judge ourselves hardly on that, in that sense with that.
Yeah, well, I feel for women in that respect because, first, just from a media aspect, women have always had, not always, but they think they have to uphold to some image that they've seen, and not guys, not as much, and women have more obstacles, ahead of them because, bearing children, that is a lot of stress that the body goes through, and things change. And then after you have kids, you're like, well, this is gonna be really hard for me to get back. And you keep thinking about that image you had 10, 15 years ago. And, it's just not realistic for some folks, and that's okay. I just tell my women clients, we just want you to get the best you right now. Let's just think about what we can do right now. You look fantastic. Let's just figure out what we can do today and not worry about what happened in the past.
Yeah, 110%. Media definitely has a lot to play with how the roles are, and what the expectation is. But it's nice to see, especially with women's health and some of these magazines, they are definitely starting to come around with more functional training, and talking to women more about strength training. So on that note, like, what are some of your tips when you start with a new client that comes in? How do you guys get started with strength training, and how do you kind of go through that experience with them if they're hesitant, or not sure that's something that they feel is for them?
There's a few things. So first, if they do come in, because I had this question this week already a couple of times, and it's actually from an existing client I had. First, I'll talk about that, and she's a smaller woman. She's about 5'2", and she probably weighs 130, 140 pounds. And she, we were lifting. She's like, I have a question for you. And I said, well, what's that? She's like, am I going to get bigger doing this? She's like, I don't feel bigger. We've been doing this for about 6-8 months. And I explained to her the hormones and nutrition aspect, and she totally understood it. On the flip side, I talked to someone that was brand new that had never lifted weights really. They kind of did some different classes back in the day, maybe did some Zumba, some spinning, something of that nature. And I hadn't really had the same conversation. But what I also did is, we were busy at that time, and I said, see this young lady over here? Yeah, I see her. Well, this young lady has been working with us for 10 years. And, she's been lifting weights probably 3 days a week, pretty hard. And, she looks pretty good, right? She's like, yeah, she doesn't look bulky. She looks normal. I said, yeah, I guess my point being is, don't go into it thinking you're going to get bigger. Go into it and think about it from a longevity and health aspect. And I really try to go to that longevity and health aspect, because we need to keep our bone density. We need to keep our muscle tissue for metabolism and function and strength, and bone density for those reasons. And that seems to stick with them as well, because when you start getting into your late 30s, early 40s, you get these talks from your doctor, and so you're like, okay, I need to keep what I have strong. And that's where I really veer the conversation.
Sure. Yeah, and that I agree with all of that. What I find interesting is that I have a lot of clients and members come in, and they're watching their parents age, and it's interesting how scary that situation can be. Is that you can watch your mother, be in her 70s and barely be able to pick herself up from the couch because she didn't take care of herself, or didn't lift weights, or health issues that could have been fixed but weren't. And that kind of scare factor brings people in as well. Like I need to stay strong. I need to protect my body.
Yeah, I think more than ever, I like that you brought that up, because I think more than ever, people are realizing that fitness necessarily isn't supposed to be a weight loss tool, because, in reality, it's not the best weight loss tool, because everything needs to be in place for weight loss to happen, whether it's, stress reduction, sleep, nutrition, etc. And people are seeing that, wow, I don't want things to degrade, and I want to be able to, enjoy life and not have to sit in, my lazy boy and watch TV all day. So coming from the functional standpoint, we have building. I talk a lot about building the capacity to do more in your life. When you're kind of putting money in the bank, when you're working out, you're building more capacity to do the things you love to do in your everyday life. And so more people are starting to come here with those goals instead of the weight loss goals. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah. And I like that saying, putting money in the bank. Putting
Yeah,
money in your body bank.
Yeah, so I say, after a workout, sometimes I'll say to the client, that's money in the bank. We got a great workout in.
Right.
Every workout's like, a buck in the bank. Where you're building your strength, your endurance, your capacity to do things you want to do, the longevity for your life. I just got done, working with a woman. She was 79 years old. She is going through radiation with her lungs. She has COPD. But, she's not giving up that fight because she wants to play tennis. She's going down to Florida. You probably have similar folks too. They are up north during the summer and down south during the winter. And she's like, I need to keep playing tennis. And so that's our goal. She's not in a weight loss thing. She's not worried about getting bulked up. She just wants to be able to play tennis. And I love those type of goals because it kind of eliminates that whole bulkiness out of the head.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great story. I love stuff like that too. We have a woman who just started with us probably about 2 months ago. And she's now actively, one of her workouts is boxing and she loves it. She's like 65, 68. She's like, puts the gloves on and just has 30 minutes, just goes to town and absolutely kills it, but loves it. And she's never moved before. This is her first time in the gym, having that experience. And she's so excited and thrilled to be able to do that and experience that.
Yeah, it just probably gives her so much more confidence, right? It gives her more confidence. It gives her, more energy. And so, again, that's just another example of let's get the weight loss thing out of the equation. Let's get the bulkiness. I'm lifting weights. I'm going to get big out of the equation, and think about how it just makes me feel. And, I'm okay with that. We have a client that or member that is here for years, and maybe they didn't lose the weight they want, but they feel great and they're doing cool stuff. That's better. That's better than, making some dramatic 30, 40 pound weight loss sometime. The weight loss will come. We'll get there. Just keep showing up to the gym and we'll get there.
Right. Time and consistency and patience. The one thing women lack so much of is patience.
I'm the same way, right? Everybody wants things right now, but playing that long game, I think as you get older too, or at least for me in my experience, I start to think of it as the long game. And I try to reiterate that to our members is you guys are playing the long game because, if they want to sign a 12-month contract at a gym, they're like, oh, what a way. I'm like, well, what? You're going to work out for 3 months and quit? Like, You're not going to work out anymore? I mean, I understand if you don't like our place. I mean, I'm not going to hold you here, right?
Sure.
But let's get some commitment here. You got to commit to yourself for your life.
Right. So when people come in, what are your tips and kind of suggestions for us as we get started in some type of strength training program? Maybe things to look for, and maybe things to avoid. Just with your experience, do you have any tips that you could direct us on with that?
Yeah, so I think that, if you're going into a gym, so if we're talking in a sense where if someone's looking to join a gym and get into weightlifting, I think that the first thing that someone needs to ask is, are you just going to keep me safe? Because, now with so many kind of hit intensity places and burn and go hard, and I'm not going to name any brands out there, but it's all about this high heart rate, kick butt. I really tell people that's not really necessarily indicative of a good workout. If you're totally trashed after a workout and your joints are sore and you're in this 90+ heart rate all the time, that's really not that great for longevity. And science shows that. So I tell people, we just go in and I want you to feel like every time you lift, you have a couple reps left in the tank. So if you grab a weight and, you do 10 reps, you probably could have got 12, stop at 10 reps. Let's just keep doing a little more volume by doing a little more sets. And you don't have to do these PR max lifts. And that tends to, kind of ease women's minds when you talk about the bulkiness. I'm like, look, I'm not trying to crush you here. We just want to get some good reps in and start there. So that's one big thing I focus on.
Okay.
Another thing is I like to talk about recovery, because that's something we forget about, especially if it's a fat loss goal. We're not even thinking about recovery. We're thinking, how many days a week can I get in here? Right. I like to say, let's start with 3 days a week. If you can be 3 days a week of strength training and maybe go walk your dog or do a boxing class like you guys have, or something active, that's a great recipe. We don't really need much more than that. Give me 3 days a week and we'll go from there. Also, I'll try to dive in and find one recovery thing we can work on, whether it's sleep, whether it's, are you getting enough minerals and like magnesium, things like that to help recovery. So I'll talk about some type of thing, something that can help the recovery. That
Can
could
I
be
interrupt you for 1 second? Because I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah.
you understand how important sleep is to the entire process. So do you mind just elaborating a little bit on, that sleep factor for me?
Yeah, so I always kind of I always give the disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV or on the radio or social media, but it's right there. The science is right there. You guys could go check it out. You'll see a lot of women, and I learned this when I was 20, going to these hormone and menopausal and premenopausal seminars with ladies that were of those ages. Is mineral deficiency and omega fatty acid deficiency is huge, and that's one thing that can help, that can dictate some of their sleep. And so if you're, magnesium in particular is a relaxation mineral. So what I try, if I have a woman that is, 40s, 50s, 60s, can't sleep, I say, you probably don't like taking baths, but do a mineral salt or Epsom salt bath before you go to bed. Get a lot of that magnesium through the skin. It's great to absorb through that way. It relaxes them. It's very calming. Or take some type of zinc and magnesium supplement in the evening before you go to bed. And then because, not as much as it was, but probably people our parents' age are really super scared of healthy fats. And so I really say, are we getting enough servings of omega fatty acids in the diet that are going to help some of recovery? And I keep kind of going through. Then the hydration is another one, not drinking enough, forgetting about themselves because they're worried about their kids and they're not drinking enough water. Sounds so simple, right?
Yeah.
But people don't do it. They don't. They say, oh, I do, but when you track it, they really don't. So those small things I really try to weave in there for recovery and sleep.
Sure. And then actually getting the sleep.
Yeah. Getting the sleep.
Going to bed and shutting it down. It's some people really struggle with that, and really understanding that while you're sleeping, your body is recovering, and you really need that opportunity to shut down and make it happen.
Yeah, I set the bar low. I like to set bars low when we're doing goals. I do a really habit-based approach of setting goals. And so I'll say, let's just get 6 hours of sleep a night. Everybody says 7 to 10. Okay, fantastic. But if you're getting 4, let's get 5 or 6. Let's start there. Same with like water. Like if you're only drinking none, well, let's just drink 30 ounces. Set the bar low. Let them hit some milestones. Maybe it's the blue light thing. If people they just can't get rid of the TV or the phone before bed, I say buy some blue light blocking glasses. You can get them for like $50, $60, $70. They're a decent price to look decent. And let's start there. Let's do some things like that.
100%. That's all really great feedback on how to get started. We really appreciate that. It helps.
Absolutely. I give a check every time I get someone new. I give them a little checklist. I'll just ask them, and I use these things called cheat sheets, and we'll go through them and just see where the gaps are. And usually they'll find some small gaps they can fill in, and starts to help some of those things. Yeah.
And creating a plan and having an idea of where it is all of this is leading to, I think is important too. So what are you doing in your gym? Like, do you have favorite exercises that you guys do, or movement patterns that you guys do with your clients, or do you have a particular favorite one?
Yeah, so we run off a system called the 7 pillars of movement. It's nothing real fancy name. It's just, a push, a pull, a hinge, a squat, a carry. We call it groundwork. And then we also have core work. We call it rotation, anti-rotation. And so we built all our programs based off that philosophy. But what we find that, so we're talking the topic of women that they love the most, they love squats and deadlifts, And then after that, I would say our more mature population, 60 plus, they love carries. They swear that by us having them either push a sled or do a farmer's carry, that they feel like they have more capacity to do things everyday life, whether it's, pick up a grandchild or carry things up the stairs. It just gives them kind of that almost that vigor to say, I can do this. I don't need to call my neighbor to pick this up, right?
Yeah.
So those kind of big movements that, once we get the movement pattern down right, load up the weight, and they start to feel real cool. We have a 170-pound kettlebell.
Right.
A woman comes up, deadlifts it for 5 reps. They love it.
Yeah, no, that's the deadlift is hands down everybody's favorite here. We deadlift and squat all day long. Can you just walk us through what farmer's carry is? Because I'm not sure if everybody listening would know what it is that you're referencing when you talk about that.
Yeah, so it's kind of the most simple carry, right? You have, and sometimes we'll have uneven weights, but take even weights, dumbbells, kettlebells, sandbag, whatever you have, and you just stand up super tall, let the arms hang, shoulders down and back, and get good posture, and make sure you have good breathing, and you just walk at a normal pace. It sounds real simple, but it helps build posture, helps build the core, something that everybody lacks, it seems like, is grip strength. And if you do it for long enough, it's going to get your heart rate up pretty high. And so we really try to have people focus on breathing techniques when they're doing those as well. So it's just grab something in your hand, stand tall, and walk with good posture.
Yeah, good posture and walk.
Like that. But it's so effective. What we find is as I get into, in my longer in training, is I just keep my workouts so simple, and I just coach them really well and get them to do them really well. We just really take a lot of the fancy stuff out of the book and just keep it real simple but effective at the same time.
Yeah. And I think that's everyone's starting to see that it doesn't need to be this wild, crazy experience for you to be successful. So it's good that we're coming around that direction for sure.
Oh yeah, I remember like in the early 2000s, like all functional trainers out there. I mean, I had people like doing Bosu ball this and stability ball that, and band and something on your shoulder, and it was just weird. So I'm so glad we're out of that phase. It was terrible. So, but we had to figure it out. You got to do it to figure it out.
Yeah. It's just a couple injuries, and then, well, all right, maybe that one's not. We'll take the Bosu band thing away.
Yeah. Speaking of, I taught this class. I mean, I used to do everything when I first started, but I taught this plyometric class at the athletic club I worked at for 5 years, and I had like 50 women and it was like a couple of guys.
Yeah.
And just jumping for like an hour. I'm like, how terrible is that? Like doing like a million different jumps, and everybody's so sore. And like, I'm so sore, Justin. It's so great.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it's great. And actually, it really wasn't great. Somebody's like, their knees hurt and their shoulders hurt, and this is terrible.
But I think for women, I find that there is, we need like a sweaty, emotional connection. Like, I don't feel like I worked out really well unless, you are covered in sweat, and you, I don't know. I find with women, like, that's like the sensor that goes off in our brains that like we did a good job is that you're so sweaty and you're so exhausted at the end of your workout. So do you want to chat us maybe a little bit through the pluses and minuses on that, or what that should feel like, or when that should happen?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's something where we still battle a little bit. So right now I'm the person doing all like the initial session to get people in the door, right? My head trainer has moved to Austin during the quarantine. And, we have what's called conditioning, which is large group, and we have semi-private. We still call it semi-private, which is small group training. Small group is 4 people, strength training based, more coaching, difficult movements, etc. And conditioning, we just use, a lot of cardio stuff. It's battling ropes and sleds and bikes and ski ergs and burpees and crap. And we will get a lot of women that want that feel, because their sense is sweat, heart rate's high, burn fat, which, really isn't the case, right? And so we used to have, we're kind of getting away from it as we evolve now, is we had like the large group membership only. Well, I've taken it off. We're taking it off the website. We're going to take it off everywhere. We'll still have it in our back pocket, but because we really want to get those people to do strength training, and they're not getting that. And we'll talk to them about it, like, well, I love the burn. I love the burn. And so we have to go through this whole conversation about that doesn't necessarily mean you're burning fat. In fact, maybe you shouldn't be in that 90% heart rate all the time, because that necessarily isn't that healthy for the heart. We need a little mix of both. We need to do some strength training.
Right.
And so we don't have any strength training in our large group. And so we have to educate them on why the strength training. And so I'll send them that PDF I sent you so they can read it. Because sometimes if I'm talking to them, they don't believe me for some reason.
Right.
But if I give them other resources, or I'll give a link to another article of a woman they'll say, oh, I have an aha moment. So we really try
Right.
to let people know that doesn't mean burn fat. It does not.
Right. Yeah, but there's definitely some emotional thing for us.
Yeah, for sure. I think for everybody, even guys think, we think burn, like why, that's why, CrossFit's so popular, right? It's like, man, I'm getting my ass kicked and
Right.
I'm just, they're lifting weights and burpees and climbing ropes and it's just so hard,
Right.
which is great. I love the challenge. I did all that. I did competitions and I think the mental challenge of that is great. But this shouldn't be all the time. Give me
Right.
one workout a week like that,
Right.
challenge yourself. But the other ones you need to feel refreshed because
Right.
that's longevity. We're talking about people have to think about the long term. It's not just this week or this month. It's this lifetime. And
Right.
those workouts, they won't last. You'll get hurt.
Right. And I think that's what eventually happens is that injury then comes in and then it creates a stumbling block. Well, the last time that I got worked out, that I worked out, I got hurt. Okay, well, what were you doing?
Right.
Because that really drives a lot of it.
It's not the workout's fault. It's the person's fault. Like you said you had Brett on for kettlebells, master of kettlebells, right? And people say, oh, the kettlebell hurt me. I'm like, well, actually, you hurt yourself with the kettlebell, because
Right.
you're not doing proper technique. And that happens, and working out is just like a sport. There's always a risk of getting hurt. You don't stop playing basketball or soccer or whatever you love to do because, oh my gosh, I'm going to get hurt. I shouldn't play. No,
Sure.
you just try to do the best you can to get around it. Just like working out, there is a risk. You just gotta, our trainers, one of our mottos is first, do no harm, kind of like a doctor. We just don't want to hurt anybody. So we take people through FMS. What can you do? What can't you do? And go from there.
Right. Right. And I think that that's the right way to build it is making sure that you are placed in the right thing. I think a lot of women have had experiences where you just get pushed into whatever it is that they that the programming might be or the class might be. And we even take a real step back of making sure, like most people here start with one-on-one training, half-hour one-on-one training sessions because women feel uncomfortable being around weights. What we feel, I want to build everybody up and empower them to say, you can do this, Jillian, and you can be successful and we'll show you the way, and then they can fly a little bird. They love it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I think, just about the private training, I think that, it's kind of making a comeback in a sense, people don't want to be around people as much. But I think that sometimes those people that need more private training, we like to think that we can throw everybody in a small group or large group, and we can eventually, right? We're skilled enough here, and we feel like we can take care of folks. But sometimes, from an emotional standpoint or injury standpoint, or just a technique standpoint, they just don't have the movement patterns, right?
Sure.
Doing that private training and maybe offering it at a little lower cost in the beginning just to get them started, can be really beneficial for that person to give them the confidence so they can go in the small group and large groups and flourish.
Yeah. I also think too that with one-on-one training, sometimes it's just great to some people and women too enjoy that type of training because it's an opportunity to check out. You get me time. So if it's, 40 or 50 minutes of just you and a coach and you just don't have to really think too much and downtime, especially now that we're home with kids and everything's so crazy. It's a different opportunity for somebody.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you'll see that depending on what I noticed through my years, it depends on the profession. So if you have a woman, we'll talk about in particular, that maybe in a leadership role at work, they're a manager, they're managing a lot of people, a lot of stress, right? Sometimes they don't want to be around people, right? They just need a break, me time. And that's a person that really could benefit from private training because they get their own time, they get their own instruction, they're taking care of them, don't worry about anybody else. And I think they need that. They need that decompression almost as well.
Yeah. No, I agree.
For sure.
Live and learn, right?
Yeah, of course.
So one question that we ask everybody that comes onto the podcast is, what is your favorite exercise?
Oh my gosh. It's funny to say that because on our website, and I need to change it. It says my least favorite was bicep curls. And I think my favorite was like hang cleans or something. Like we have like two different bios on our website.
Right.
Like I need to update that. I don't really know what my favorite exercise is. I think that I would say that I've had some hip and back issues, but I would say when that's healthy, the kettlebell swing's my favorite because I just always feel like if I'm pinched for time, I can get so much work done with just a kettlebell swing. If I just do 10 sets of 10 with about 30 seconds to a minute rest in between, that's a workout. Everything feels good. My heart rate's up. I've got, it's got a little bit of power and strength into it.
Yep.
So I would say that'd be my favorite one. But my bro favorite one is definitely bench press for sure. Even, ever since sixth grade, sounds like 16. It's like, can't wait to bench press, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Still love it. I'm still a meathead at heart, no matter what. So
still trying to get those gains.
any chest exercise for a guy, any chest.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to answer the question.
For sure. Yeah, because it's more complicated than just a one-word answer. I got a lot of background in fitness here.
No, I know, but it's just trying to see where everybody's at. Like, I think we all kind of have like a secret thing that we just like to do on our own 2 cents or our own time.
Yep. Oh yeah, you see trainers like sometimes doing like Stu McGill says no crunches, and then you see someone over there doing crunches. Oh, it makes me feel good. I ate lasagna last night. I feel fat. I'm gonna do some crunches.
Yeah, it's like your emotional exercise that like when you're just having a moment, like that you go do when you're having a moment.
We used to do that in our programming. That's something we learned from Rick Mayo, actually. That emotional exercise. You probably heard him talk about it, maybe.
Yeah.
And we would just say, okay, guys, what do you want to do at the end? It'd be guys want to do chest, and women want to do triceps and something for their butt, right? So
core,
or core, or core abs.
Yes.
So we would have 5 minutes, and they'd kind of do. I'll give you ab circuit here. Do like 1 million walking lunges there, and have a guy do like 5 sets of bench, and see you later.
You just don't feel as successful unless you do insert item here.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't really have it.
Go ahead.
No, you're good.
You go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, as I'm thinking about that answer, I'm like, gosh, what is like my favorite like type of workout? And because we've been through so many different workout kind of phases in our life, and I thought I just don't know. It's kind of hard to pick one. There's so many I'd like to pull.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
I'm for me personally, I'm very into just like low and slow strength training right now. I really enjoying just kind of not killing myself, getting a nice workout and not feeling like death the next day. So nice that we can do that now.
For sure. Yeah, well, I'm glad you can do that. And sometimes you need those workouts. Those workouts are really good. Maybe that's all you need right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Just a little bit of stress relief when we're home with our children.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show today. I know that you're super busy. We appreciate all of your feedback and information. And we hope that you have a great afternoon.
Thank you so much. Anytime, I'll come on. You let me know.
All right. Thanks, Justin.
My pleasure. Thank you.
There's so much information about what women should be doing to stay fit and healthy, it makes it hard to know what information is right. Join me, Jillian Russo, every Wednesday as I interview women who have finally made themselves a priority. Each episode contains inspirational stories from women just like you who have had enough and have decided to make health and fitness part of their everyday lives. I'll also be inviting other health and wellness professionals to share their stories and provide tips on health, nutrition, wellness, life, and much more.